Are we live? I think we are. Unfortunately, it sounds like you guys pick up on my audio when we do this. Alright. Hold tight. I'm gonna go grab a headset and see if I can figure this out. Okay, 1 second. I think that just helps. You guys don't get the reverb. I get it a little bit, but I think I'll be okay. Alright. If I'm doing this correctly, I should be live on YouTube. 1 second. So this is just a practice round. If any of you guys see this later. Okay, I'm gonna take this off. Okay, but yeah, this is just a practice round. If any of you guys see this later, don't worry about it. I'm gonna delete it. This is not the official YouTube live session. I'm gonna hold a couple of those. For now, though, I'm just trying to figure out how everything works. That way, when I do actually hold one, everything will work smoothly. So, let's see. Oh, okay. There. I think, yes, so that gets rid of the reverb for me. And then if I want to mute myself, I think I do this. Excellent. Okay. Promise. I have no idea how I can see any questions from you guys. So let's see if I'm live on my YouTube account. YouTube, where are you? Okay. Oh, there we go. So I can see it. The bad news is it looks like what shows up online is a couple of seconds behind what I see on my little panel. But I think I can layer it so I can see stuff. Yeah, okay. I can layer stuff so I can see the live chat at the same time. Well, sweet. I think this will work pretty good. I was playing around in Facebook earlier, and oh, hi, Rebecca. Sorry, I'm just testing the system out. So you can ignore me if you hear me talking in the background. But I was on Facebook Live earlier. That seemed to work better, actually, Facebook Live, but I think YouTube seems to be the preferred system, so I'll have to figure out how to get this going better. I think we can limp through for now, though. Ooh, could I do emoji? I can do emojis. Oh, that's exciting. When I was on Facebook, I was the only one who couldn't do emojis. Everybody else could. Let's see. Oh, it's just in messages. Oh, still. How do I get out of there? There we go. All right. Yeah. I will say that the YouTube program is a lot more sophisticated than the Facebook. That's probably why I like the Facebook better right now, though, is because it's a lot easier to use versus this one is. I can put up like pictures and stuff like that to share with you guys, which that's a little too advanced for me right now. We'll just say it's a miracle that I'm figuring out how to do this. So, oh, thanks, Rebecca. That's really sweet. I'm testing out the system, so if you have anything you want to ask me, go ahead, because I'll be around for a little bit. Just making sure that I know how to do this, so when I actually do have a live event, I don't completely bomb it. Turn off the audio. There we go. Playing around with sound a little bit. Yeah, this is a little more powerful than I need. But YouTube requires an encoding program, so that's partially why it's a little rougher to deal with this. How I add stuff. Huh? Switch the screen. Oh, yeah. I don't really know what I'd want to show, though, because it's meant for Facebook, but it will. It's a useful thing to practice. Oh, I think I have a loose grasp of it now. But yeah, Rebecca, did you have any questions for me before I head out? Because I just want to make sure I could do this before I announce to the newsletter that I'm going to be holding one of these. Or actually, I guess I have a question for you. How did you know I was doing this? Did you get like a notification? Okay. That's excellent to hear. I didn't really know that they do that, though. That's very nice to hear. Huh. Yeah, I am a couple seconds ahead. I think probably I'm like 15 seconds ahead of you. Maybe not 15, maybe it's only 10, but I'll have to be careful with that when I do actually do this. I wonder. Just checking to see if I can show you guys like my desktop or something like that. Because if I wanted to be mean, I could show you guys the first page and new books and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem like I can do that. I could be wrong though. Huh. Yeah, they're pretty nifty. All right. I think I'm going to end this then and then check and see how it works on YouTube, see how it uploads and all that kind of stuff. So thanks, Rebecca, for popping on here. I really appreciate it. And also, just a little side note, thanks for reading. I'm really honored that you like my books. And I just want to make sure there's nothing. Did I just stop it? Oh, this is interesting. Wow, this is really bad picture quality. And my glasses are shining. I'll have to remember to take them off. But, well, excellent. Oh, you are too sweet. Seriously. Well, I don't know. The stuff I write isn't for everyone, because I have the tendency to kind of prefer the perhaps non-traditional twists or unexpected twists. I don't know. So, but I really appreciate that. I do have an unusual sense of humor too. That probably is the best way of putting it. What most people sometimes find off-putting is the way I do romance and humor. Let's see. Trying to also see a better camera angle here. I might have better luck if I'm actually sitting at a table. Yeah. Okay. Well, yep, I'm gonna head out then. Thanks, Rebecca, for popping on here and answering my questions. It really was a big help. That way I know if I'm doing something right or wrong. On a quick side note though, before I do go, am I loud enough? Can you hear me clearly? Or is it pretty bad? Oh, hello! Welcome. Yeah, Rebecca was just being a sweetie and helping me out here as I'm trying to test the live system so I can actually do a Facebook Live with you guys. This is my bumbling one, so it's pretty bad. You can tell the lighting's bad, the image is really grainy, and I have these awful big huge honkin' headphones that I actually don't need anymore. But Poke High, that's a fun name. Oh, I like the little smiley face. Perfect. Good to know. I was playing around with stuff earlier. Well, and the picture quality is so bad I was a little concerned that the audio is bad to match. So, excellent. Well, thanks guys for popping on here. I asked Rebecca earlier, but if I say your name in a rush, it's going to be very interesting. So Poke High 5, smiley face. If you have any questions for me before I stop this, I am going to do an actual official, probably 2 actually YouTube live events in the next week. But if you have anything you want to ask me right now, I'd be happy to share, talk, whatever. Especially as I try to figure this stuff out. My goodness. So many buttons and possibilities for me to click and get into trouble with. Ooh, like that button. What does that button do? Oh no. That didn't do anything interesting. Spoiler. Ooh. What does it do? That's just something that I don't understand what it does. Can I have multiple cameras going? That'd be fun. Oh, it doesn't look like it. Mm, mm. Yeah, I think when I'm home too, like I'm gonna do one of these sessions on my laptop, but I think when I'm home it'll be better then too, because that computer has a lot more CPU and stuff. But let's see. Um, well, technically, Rebecca, what happened was I knew that I wanted Angelique and Avariste to find still uh selling stuff. So technically the way it is in the freebies is the way that it should be. Um he was basically just selling like little trinkets and stuff like that. So I think one of my original ideas was that he was selling beads. Like he had some beads that he sold, technically stole too. So yeah, I'd say consider the freebies as canon. The one where you actually see Angelique and Evariste uh finding him. But yeah. And no problem, Pokai. It's timeless fairy tales, but I just call them the fairy tales anyways most of the time. Favorite one that I've written. I always have the tendency to like the one that I've just finished because the characters are very real to me. So, um, I feel like I end up knowing them really well by the end of the book, so they're usually the ones that then leave the largest impact on me at that particular given moment. So Frog Prince is really fun, but that's also kind of an unfair comparison too, because Frog Prince is really fun because I got to bring back so many other characters too, and kind of play around with them, which is something I haven't been able to do too much. I mean, we've seen it a little bit, but not as much as I intend for it to get. Because Frog Prince is kind of a precursor. Because in the final book, like all the heroes and heroines are going to come back. You will then see Rune and Falk from Wild Swans. You also see Cinderella from Cinderella and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Frog Prince was technically my favorite at the moment, but if we're actually just looking up at like straight up the most fun to write, it probably was actually Cinderella, just because I really, really like Frederick. He's a really easy guy to write because he's super funny, but he's very predictable. And I also like the way he talks. He has a very individualistic speaking pattern, so I like him a lot. And my male characters are usually actually the ones that I find the hardest to write by far. Like the girls usually come pretty easy to me. The guys can be really hard because either they'll come off sounding like these stiff old grandmas or they'll sound too much alike. So I really stress over them. So that's also probably why I like Cinderella so much. Let's see. Yeah, I'm glad that you liked all the return of all the characters. And even though the series will technically like end, where's my camera? End? Yeah. Um it's more like the current timeline will wrap up. And then you'll get books that happen before the current timeline. So that's like The Girl in the Glass Coffin and Queen of Hearts. And then you'll get stuff that happens years after the current timeline. Um Most of those titles are under wraps for now just because I don't really know what order I'm going to write them in, but you'll also get a couple of stories that take place directly after the last book ends. Like you will see some of the same characters again. For instance, one day in the far off future, I'm actually hoping to write a book that involves Mick as the hero, Mick from the Wild Swan. He's the one of the Arcanian princes, Mick of the Mick and Nick twin duo. So you'll still actually see some of these characters even after the series ends. Which ending to the Wild Swans do I like better? That's tough. Just honestly speaking, I actually like Rune more, but that's because I'm a lazy person, and Rune is extremely competent in terms of being like emotionally intelligent. So to me, he really appeals because he would fighting with him wouldn't actually happen that often because he'd understand the way, that that Elise would think and all that kind of stuff. So that appeals to me as a very low-key, drama-free, kind of lazy person. But I will say that Falk is probably, he is more endearing. Like, I freely admit he's much more endearing with his with the whole like he was the swan thing and remembered who she was as a swan. So in terms of the way it kind of ends up, I actually like the part where Elise tells Rune that she's in love with him more, but in terms of the actual epilogue, Elise with Falk is actually probably like my favorite because I love that scene where, because Falk's job would be a much better complement to Elise's because, he would basically be able to start bankrolling her big time. So that's why I really honestly can't choose which one I like better because I like the first scene from Rune's ending better, but I like the second scene from Falk's ending better. So, um, but who's my favorite timeless fairy tale couple? I don't know. Now that they're together, probably Elle and Severin. When I first was writing them, though, oh, Severin and Elle, ooh, I did not like them all that much just because they were so opposed to getting together. It was driving me crazy. Like, I've never written a couple that is so hard to push together because they were just so uninterested in each other. So, in terms now that they're together, I find it a lot of fun to be able to write them together. But honestly, Raquel and Farron from the Snow Queen are actually probably my all-time favorite, just because they have a very sweet storyline that I was able to explore a lot more. That's the one thing I really like about the Snow Queen series, and that I'm going to be doing moving forward with Timeless Fairy Tales once this current arc ends, is I'm going to make each fairy tale at least 2 books, probably more about 3, because it really gives me a chance to dig into the characters more and to really explore their romance in a less like go 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 sort of way. Like, part of the problem with Lucien and Ariane is that they fall in love in a very short amount of time, and that's because the summit is a pretty short span. It's like, I think, between 2 to 3 weeks. I'd have to check my notes. Versus with Raquel and Farron, because it was a longer, it's a 2-book series, I had more time to explore opportunities. So they're falling in love basically over the space of several months. So that was a lot of fun to explore, I guess you could say. I still have to say that Cinderella and Frederick are also up there just because they are, again, a very easy to write couple, very fun, and favorite quirk from the female characters. I do, like, I actually love to clean. That's why Ariane ended up getting that quirk, is because I love it. But honestly, Dylan with her obsession with food, that was probably the most fun for me because it was kind of like, okay, now I could have just had her like constantly being eating and like, oh, food's so good, but it was more fun to think about like how I could really change like make it a funny way. Like, I think one of my favorite scenes in the whole book is when you find her eating oatmeal out of a bucket in the portrait gallery, and it's so unexpected, but it's so Dylan. And I think that's why I really like that quirk, is just because I got to do a lot of fun things with it, and it really revealed her personality. And Ariane gets kind of close with that too, like with the way that she cleans furniture with her like very fancy, elegant dress. She gets pretty close, but Dylan had more opportunities because her book wasn't quite so like breakneck pace versus Frog Prince was. We had to keep moving, just because of the summit and the meetings, and I was trying to set everything up for that ending, without you guys knowing that I was setting everything up for that ending. That was the really tricky part in that book. So that's why it was a little shorter, more like because I had to cut out the usual like fluff scenes kind of thing. So, yep. They all are fun though in their own way. I'm reading your question, Rebecca. Fred is Bard the Bowman from the Hobbit movies. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good depiction of he would look like that. I mean, obviously he'd have the eye patch, but yeah. Otherwise, the other actor I really like is from the Lord of the Rings movies, and it's Eomer. But Eomer and Bard actually look really alike if you're looking at them in real life, which might be why I like both of them a lot. So, side note, did you guys hear they're making a Lord of the Rings prequel TV series? Amazon is. I'm so excited. It's going to be so awesome, or at least I hope it is. I hope that they don't ruin anything, but where do I get inspiration from my stories? The stories, the fairy tales in particular, are usually I will read the original and then I will go, wow, that was really messed up. Seriously messed up. How could I make this even remotely similar? Or sometimes it's like I ask myself, why would the characters do this? So for instance, Rumpelstiltskin, I more asked like, why did Rumpelstiltskin help her, and then why did he have that super weird bargain where like at the end where he's like, oh, I want your kid, in comparison to the other two, where he took gold that was literally less amount than the amount that he made for her, and then made it. So that was, the storylines usually come that way. Characters are a little bit different. Sometimes I take pieces from people I meet. I usually don't do an exact representation of people I know. The only exclusion to that rule was Orion from Red Rope of Fate, who is, I think he's my second or third most popular hero ever. And I modeled him after my friend, and his friend will never let me forget that he is my second or third most popular hero ever. He comes in right behind Still, basically. So, I'm guessing, Rebecca, that your reaction is to the Amazon Lord of the Rings series. Yeah, they just announced it. I think it was like this morning. They confirmed it. Either that was last night. But yeah, apparently Netflix and Amazon have been in a bidding war over the Lord of the Rings series because everybody thinks it's going to be the next Game of Thrones series, which I'm kind of hoping it will be better, but that's just my personal hope because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fangirl. But let's see, have I ever read the fairy tale about the cannibalistic robber? No, that does sound like something the Grimm brothers would collect, though. There's some really weird ones. Like I was originally, I ended up doing Swan Lake for Kozlovka, but Kozlovka is supposed to be of like a Russian inspiration. And there's one I was looking at that involved like a babushka or like Baba Yaga or something, I don't remember, and like a little bone. It was super creepy. So yeah, the ones that would give me nightmares, I will never do. I don't like horror, so cannibalistic does not sound like my cup of tea. There's actually Sleeping Beauty. So there's like a second part to Sleeping Beauty, and that's where like, well, Sleeping Beauty gets pregnant and then has her kids, whatever. Which we won't even get into how she got pregnant because that just makes me want to kick the prince. But he's actually a king. But happening is the king is already married before he meets Sleeping Beauty, and then they have their kids together. And the lady he's married to, I think it's Sleeping Beauty. Otherwise, I might be remembering Wild Swans as well. They do kind of all blend together after a while. But the lady he's married to then ends up, yeah, because it's Sun, Moon, and Talia. So the lady he's married to ends up telling like the cook to chop up Talia, that's Sleeping Beauty's, to chop up her kids and then like put them into a dish and then feeds the king the dish. But the cook disobeys, so he doesn't kill the kids, but she doesn't know that, so she literally thinks that she's feeding her husband his own kids. It's like, oh, just wrong. For how do you pronounce all the countries' names? I will admit I mispronounce them because each one is taken after several different nationalities. Like, a lot of them are actually named after like rivers and stuff like that. from the countries that they are either rivers or like really tiny towns or like words and stuff like that, from the countries that they were inspired by. So I actually pronounced them wrong. But uh, so the Kingdom of Beauty and the Beast and Frog Prince, that I think is pronounced Loire, if you're pronouncing it the French way, which we'd want to. Arcania is that's the Puss in Boots, Wild Swans, that's their family. Urlauf is that's Cinderella, and that's because Urlauf is more Austrian themed. But let's see. Oh, great. Thanks for stopping by, Pokai, and for asking your questions. I will be scheduling this, and this will be something that I'll be doing more in the future. So, but it was really fun to chat with you, and I'll be going shortly too. I'll just finish Rebecca's question first. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and thanks for reading. Rebecca, back to your question. So, Erlof is more Austrian. Kozlovka is supposed to be Russian. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Zankara. I'm keeping my mouth shut on what it's taking inspiration from, because that will be a story in the future. I haven't brought that country up on purpose. Barris is, I think that's actually modeled after like a French word, but it's supposed to be more Mediterranean / Middle Eastern kind of thing. The best way I would describe it is like old time Middle Eastern. So like Persian probably actually is the better way to describe it. Like when you think Alibaba and the King of Thieves, like that kind of country no longer exists just because of modern politics and all that kind of stuff. That is more like the Persian kind of thing is what it's modeled after. What am I missing? Ringstead, that was actually just me being cheeky. But that one is supposed to be Irish. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Triux, which is now Erlof, that one is supposed to be more French, so I know I'm saying it wrong because I don't speak French. I'm awful at the French names in particular. Torrens is that one's kind of more of a mishmash of cultures, but part of that is just because of the fairy tale that will take place there. And then I call it soul, like the sun soul from Italian. I'm not really sure if that's the right way of doing it, but Sleeping Beauty, I pronounce soul. I kind of suspect it's more like soleil or something like that, but I don't really know. I'm actually really, really bad with phonetic stuff. Like all the names I've been saying to you, I'm sure are horribly wrong. When I actually ended up doing the audiobook for Red Rope of Fate, the narrator, who was amazing, she emailed me and she was like, oh, how do you pronounce all these names? And she wanted me to do like a recording of them. And so I tried, but I'm just so bad at pronunciation. Like part of that is just because I'm actually not really great with telling letters apart. Uh, that's why I love typing. I hate writing, and I find it really hard to read other people's handwriting. So that's why if you have a way in your mind of saying something, it's probably right, and my way is probably incorrect. So if you hear me saying something and you're like, wow, I never would have guessed that that's how it's pronounced, it probably isn't, or at least it probably shouldn't be pronounced that way. So yeah. But oh yeah, we have been on here for a while. So I'm going to go, but thanks Rebecca for stopping by, and also for all the feedback as I tried to work on this. Next time it'll hopefully be a little better quality and all that kind of stuff. So I'll wait a couple seconds just to make sure that you are good as well, because like I said, I'm in the future. So actually, where is my live video? Oh, there we go. All right, sorry for the silence. But yeah, so I think I'm going to head out once I double check that we're all good. But thanks again for coming and helping. I really appreciate the help. It was great practice, and I need practice for this. I prefer not to go into stuff blind, so. Well, excellent. Thanks for using your time here. I'm going to head out. You have a lovely day. And what day it is today? Today's Tuesday for me anyways. So I hope you have an excellent week. Thanks for dropping by.